You're listening to 11 O'Clock Comics, and this is Aaron Cooter.
Perfect.
Okay, then.
There we go.
Got it in one.
It's a wonderful, wonderful day. It's really bad when you wake up in the morning and your first thought is, what's happening? What's going on?
Every morning.
Right? Well, I guess the alternative is worse. Right? To not wake up at all.
Oh, God.
Right?
Well, yeah. Wake up
Dark.
there.
That's dark.
I go there.
He does go there.
And we're going to go there and then some, because this is 11 O'Clock Comics, episode 861.
Damn.
Where has time gone? And I am Vince B.
You are Vince B. I am David A. Price.
And my heart's aflutter, because I think...
Should be.
There's someone else here with us tonight. Who is it, Dap?
Well, it's not Jason, because he's still on the other side of the world, practically.
I was going to say, and I'm Jason Wood.
That would have worked. No. Tonight we have in her triumphant return, twice in 1 year. That's unusual for most guests, because normally it takes a few years for them to come back. So thank you for that. But you know her, you love her, we love her immensely. But this young lady is finishing up Space Cat.
Yeah,
she which I'm excited about, because it's an all ages book, and I'm stoked for that. You will be able to say hello to her at Terrific Con in Connecticut, Galaxy Con in Austin, Texas, Baltimore Comic Con, which is on my birthday weekend, and unfortunately I will not be there, and the Galaxy Con in Ohio in December. But we will all see her. Yeah. We will all get to hang out next year in Charlotte, because we're all going to be at Heroes next year in 2024. But this is none other, your friend and ours, Miss Tana Ford.
Hey, baby! Thanks for having me back. Wow, wow.
Wow. You brought your own fanfare. That's amazing.
That's how we do.
It's so good to have you back.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
It's so good to be back.
Yes, good to have you back.
Yeah. I'm doing a few more shows this year, but after I was on your show at WickedCon in Boston, I had so many of your fans come up to my table just to tell me that they had heard me on your show, and it was wonderful. It was so great. You have wonderful fans. It was very sweet, and they voted me in as official fourth chair, so I'm glad to take my rightful place.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I don't want any bloodshed, but Tony may come at you with a butter knife.
You know what? I think we got to fight it out. I think we got to show our chops.
No, we can share you. No one has to fight. I will say, though.
What's great.
The people on our Slack, our extended family on Slack, whenever they get in the habit of doing best of or favorite episode threads or whatever, your appearances are always at the top. Always. They love you.
Baby, we love that.
Yeah.
Oh, we love that. Oh, my gosh.
Wait, I think I have a solution. I have a solution for the fourth chair.
Yeah.
We'll just get rid of Jason. And then we'll go Tony, Tana, and yeah, it works.
It's perfect. I love it.
Yeah, the TF crew.
That's right.
My man's like, he basically, we get him like 3 times a year now, as it is, it looks like. So, he can be our guest from now on. He can just show up.
I like that.
Special guest, Jason Wood, everybody.
Yeah, there you go.
Woo.
And lest we forget, I'm sorry, this episode, has been sponsored by CheapGraphicNovels.com. Pretty self-explanatory. When your name is Cheap Graphic Novels, you know what you're going to get. Very low-priced omnibus, manga, and collected editions. One more time, I'm going to beseech thee. The Romnibus pre-order is live. You need to order this thing because it is some of the best stuff ever to come out of Marvel. You guys agree?
Mm-mm. The Romnibus.
Yes.
Love it.
Rom Space Knight.
I wonder if they have my silk stuff, because there were a bunch of trades of the silk arcs that I did for Marvel, and then they collected them into like I don't know if it was a silk omnibus, but it was maybe across the Spider-Verse themed collection.
I'm sure they do. Yes.
I'll have to look it up at cheapgraphicnovels.com.
Remember, the Romnibus has a list price of $125. It's a massive book, of which it is the first of probably 3. This thing is 40% off. You are getting it for $74.99. That's $50 savings. Craziness. And remember, when you place your order at cheapgraphicnovels.com, you will get an order receipt email, and it'll say, thank you for ordering, and list all the stuff you orders. You want to reply to that receipt and say, 11 o'clock comics sent me, and you will be gifted with free shipping on your second order. So that's when you back up the U-Haul and order all the books. So get yourselves over to cheapgraphicnovels.com. Order that Romnibus and some silk collections.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yes.
Good stuff.
Nice.
I think I know what you're drinking.
Who was that to?
You. I never know what he's drinking. He may be doing meth tonight with the way he's feeling. So I have no idea.
Daff was having some technical difficulties before we started recording, you guys. So what are you drinking, David?
Oh, nice.
I am enjoying my current favorite bourbon.
Ooh.
It is it's called Bardstown. I will try to bring a bottle next year.
Yes.
It's delicious. It's one of the it's actually I was telling the guys this a few weeks ago. It's probably, because I know Jason is not a fan of whiskey at all. But I really truly feel that this is smooth enough where I won't get the stink face if he tries it.
Ooh.
It's a hit with it's a favorite for some of our patrons too. They've when I talked it up, they were a couple of them were quite happy to hear that it's available near me, and it's I want to say, I thought I took a picture of the label. I believe it's from Kentucky, but it is it's really nice. I like the bottle too, but it's just a really nice, smooth, not it's very, very unassuming and nearly dangerous, just because it does go down so easy.
I love that. I love a smooth drinker. What about you, Vince?
Well, I'm going to be the sad monkey in the middle, because I'm just drinking blue raspberry flavored water.
Blue.
Yeah.
That's a choice, you know?
It is. I do love blue raspberry. The only drawback is it's clear. I wish it was blue and made your teeth blue, which would be fun.
Yeah.
But it's just plain water.
You could put a little splash of blue curacao in there. That'll stain your teeth right up.
Yeah.
You know,
I
pretty
could.
sweet.
Just jazz it up.
Who would, though? Who would? Oh. Yeah, so I when I came on your show, it was right after Christmas, and I had the Drinks from the Dram, Drinks by the Dram, these little whiskeys in my whiskey advent calendar. And I'm going to drink one of those tonight. I thought I had a bag of a half a dozen of these left, of the best ones from the last several years. But when I opened my secret bag, I realized I only have 2 of them left. And so, tonight, I had the ones. I had one a while ago, a Glaswegian 29-year-old single grain Scotch whiskey that my dog had chewed up, and my dog had I was remembering her fondly one night, and so I had this particular one, and so it's not there anymore. And anyway, so tonight I have to choose between 2 Whistle Pigs that are so they're both 10-year-old straight rye whiskey. And one of them is from the 2019. It's the oldest one that I've left. And the other one is from 2020. And so they are effectively a 13 and a 14-year-old Scotch, or a straight rye whiskey, I mean. And so, yeah, what do you think, you guys? Should we go with the oldest first? Should we go with the only difference between them on the label? And I'll send you guys a picture if you want to show the folks at home, is that the one from 2020 says that it was exclusively made for Drinks by the Dram, which is the brand name of the whiskey advent calendar, if your folks at home are interested in it. But yeah, what do you think? The 2019, the 2020?
I'm assuming you're going to drink both of them?
I think so. So do I go with the oldest one first?
Yes.
No.
Oh, boy. Well.
That's so perfect.
Okay.
I've got, I'll mark them A and B. So just A or B, guys.
B.
B for Vince B, baby. That's going to be the 2020. So I'll go with the younger one first. This one is actually a much higher proof. I don't know why it's 56.3%, but it is. The other one's only 50. So here we go. Hopefully it's not too raspy.
They're both higher than mine. I think mine's only mine's 96 proof. Yeah, 48%.
Ooh, baby. All right. Oh, that's going to be good.
And the ratings go through the roof.
That's it.
Well, mine's 100%, 100 proof. It's all water.
100 proof of blue raspberry. Put a little of that blue raspberry in here. I'll just mix it right in.
Cool. I got a case of it. So, how have you been in the interim?
I've been really good. Things are going well. Work is good. I've been seeing a lot of my friends and experiencing seasons, for the first time in a long time, which I've missed. I used to live in Florida, and there's just one season, which is perpetual summer always. And so it's been nice. And things are good.
Nice. Plus the fact that you are a creative individual who must spend time at either a drawing table or a screen. So that tends to not exactly make for a great social life.
But it's not too bad. So I've moved to Massachusetts, which is my home state, my native state, and I live basically on Cape Cod now, and in a little adorable cottage. My life is very cottagecore lesbian right now, and it's great. And so I live in this little sort of village of cottages, and there are a lot more people around me than have ever really been around me before. And so I'm surrounded by sort of small town drama and people that walk their dogs and neighbors. And I have decided in the spring and summer to just lean into my peak dad energy, I wave to the neighbors, and I water my garden with my cup of coffee in the morning, and I'm just like, hey guys, to call people champ and buddy. Yeah, it's so sweet. And so I'm really enjoying that sort of, version of myself.
So these are real people, as opposed to what my son calls NPCs. We recently went on vacation. He's like, man, this place is just crawling with NPCs. And I had to ask him what it was all about. And he's like, in a game, the non-player characters, blah, blah, blah. So I guess when they do boring, repetitive, the same old things, they're non-player characters. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. It's funny. But it's
They could be NPCs. I mean, they could just be my little village or populating. These are the folks. I don't know. I don't.
It's like the Truman Show a little bit.
Say hi. Yeah, a little bit.
But that's good. I'm glad you're happy.
It's lovely.
It's nice to find. So this is your place now?
Yes,
it feels like home.
Yes, it feels like home. And, I am getting in touch with my roots again, which feels really nice. I went through a pretty bad breakup, and, there's sometimes in life when you just sort of have to grow again. And I feel like I'm in that stage of my life, which is nice. And this is a beautiful place to be doing the kind of work that I do. And because drawing can be very isolating. And, you know, one of the things that I love about your podcast is that for a long time I didn't have a community of like artists and people. I hadn't gone to any comic book shows. I didn't know other creative people. And my only connection to this universe was through your podcast and podcasts like this. And so I find, you know, you guys are my voice in the dark, and it's nice to be a part of that. And now to have that kind of a broader community and have like actual NPC human people in my life again is nice.
Nice. Yeah. Well, sounds cliche, but sometimes you got to tear a structure down to build it up more resilient, more, you know, better, stronger. So there you go.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
I'm the optimist. Remember that. No matter what the other two tell you, I'm the optimist.
I don't know, Vince. I've been listening to you for a long time. I don't know that that's true. But
see, it sucks when the other person on the other end is informed. If you're informed, I can't bamboozle you. That's no fun.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Well, we had a commingling before this episode. We did a little bit of preparation.
Yeah, we did.
And we decided, hey, why not read the same things? It'll make for better discussion. We can bounce ideas off each other. So we did just that. And I have to say, you could tell that I love you a whole lot. Because if you told me, as little as like, you know, a couple weeks ago, that I would not only be reading a series focusing on the Scarlet Witch, but enjoying the series, I would be like, get out of town. But I have to be honest. We read, it's written by Steve Orlando, and you have to say that in a Taylor Negron voice.
Oh, absolutely.
Steve Orlando, illustrated by Sara Pichelli, with Elisabetta D'Amico, inking assist, and color, big surprise, by Matthew Wilson. So we all consumed Scarlet Witch 1 to 5 plus annual number 1.
Okay, well, full disclosure, I didn't read annual number 1, but I did read the other 5.
Okay, we're good. I was extremely surprised and a little bit embarrassed from this because I did and I do appreciate the talent behind Sara Pichelli.
Oh, she's so good.
Every time I've seen her work, I've been like, oh, that's really solid, really, really good stuff. But I think this is a couple of levels up from what I've seen. I think the artwork is the strongest facet of this series. Not to discount the writing, but the artwork is phenomenal. And the surprising thing to me is, well, it shouldn't be that surprising. Pichelli renders Wanda super sexy, but doesn't engage in that grotesquely exaggerated proportions. Like, she's not running around with massive breasts or a big butt. Like, she's very realistically and tastefully proportioned. And I thought, and she's super sexy. Like, there are some poses like, whoa, that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Pichelli's figure work is incredible, and her expressions. There's also, I mean, I've been a huge fan of Sara's work for as long as I've been a fan of comics, and her Miles Morales stuff was incredible. She's just been doing superlative stuff forever, and there is something about the way her brushwork is working here, or like the finishes, or I don't know, there's something gestural about it, or chunky about it in a way that she's usually so refined, and her anatomy is so beautiful, right? Yeah. Like, her figure work is incredible, the acting, the expressions that she has, and you know, she doesn't draw eyeballs, she doesn't draw pupils in eyeballs very often, and so she gets a lot of expressions across with very not minimal, but like gestural work, and it just leaves me breathless. It is some of the most beautiful artwork on the shelves right now.
Yeah, it's silly how good it is. It really is. But
good.
It starts off slowly. Like, I think the first issue is very solid, but she kicks into high gear like around issue 2, then it just keeps ramping up. 3 compounds on what she did in 2, and I believe 4 is the
Dodderman comes in. Russell Dodderman does one of the issues. So
right.
It's Pichelli for a few, and then there's kind of an interlude or something. And I think he's on 3 or 4. I don't remember which.
So it's Pichelli? You pronounce it Pichelli?
I think it's Pichelli, but maybe it's not. What is Christina Ricci? Is that 2 C's or 1 C? You're Italian
Ricci
fans,
is
no?
2.
Right?
Yeah, I am Italian, but I'm also incredibly bad at pronouncing. See?
I've assumed it was Pichelli.
I've always assumed it's Pichelli. I don't know.
Let's go with you. We'll default to you. Yeah. Now the issue in question
It's a bad idea.
Dowderman does the covers.
No, it's issue 3.
He does the 5th issue. He does the 5th issue.
Issue 3 is just an explosion. It's the one with the full page spreads.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Like craziness.
And very interesting storytelling. So what I want to say is that from the jump, I thought the writing on this series was incredible. Now, full disclosure, Steve Orlando is a friend of mine, and so I like him as a human being, and I thought that his comic work, I love his comic work, but I thought it would just be standard, and he actually slayed me with the stuff that he's writing for Scarlet Witch. I deeply enjoyed this series, and from the beginning there's this prescient thing. So it opens with this water battle and a big yacht, and there is this line, you guys, that says, there's a big, I don't know, sea monster, and the boat is filled with guys in suits, and Wanda is saying that seems really impractically dangerous. They wanted to come and witness this big primordial monster, and their responses were bored and very rich. Yeah. I mean, you couldn't, this was written months ago. This very bored, very rich people on a boat, that's right now.
There you go.
That,
right.
I was reading this and I was like, holy shit, we've got some prescience happening. But it was funny, right? There was just really these good moments of really good turns of phrase throughout the series when, there was this, you dare to talk to me about consequences, right? He is doing a lot of really good character work without leading the reader by the hand.
Yeah.
And sort of building on the WandaVision stuff, but sort of he trusts his audience, right? It spoke to me in a literary way. It wasn't, none of this book was talking down to me. It was fun. It was bombastic. It was big. I loved the food stuff in it. There was a lot of emphasis on sort of food in a way I wasn't expecting, and that I found very enjoyable as well. The consequences are the lattice work of your life. Oh, that's such a good line. There were just these really good moments, and I think in comic books, if you're too wordy, right, if they're just talking back and forth, visually that numbs you, right? Because you've got Pichelli, you've got Sara on this, doing this great artwork, and you don't want to cover everything up with word balloons, but you want those zingers. You want the dialogue to be kind of peppy and on point and resonant. And I think that Steve does a great job of this. I was reading this and experiencing deep enjoyment in a way that I haven't with comics in a minute. I freaking loved it.
I agree with all of that. And the thing that drew me into it was, as a longtime reader of the Marvel stuff, whenever a writer gets their hands on Wanda, it's always, I've made so many mistakes in my life. I've turned off a whole mess of people. Woe is me. There was none of that. This is a Wanda that's extremely confident. And she's like, yeah, I messed up. I did some bad, stupid, unthinking stuff, but that's in the past. Now I'm right here, and this is my life. And I thought, whoa, he jettisoned all of that baggage. Not only there are so many things in Wanda's life that would have brought down, individually, a normal person. The whole vision thing, having the children, taken away. Then there was the no more mutants thing. There are traumatic events heaped upon another in her life. And she's just like, okay,
Yep.
this is square one. Let's do this. And not feeling bad for herself, but turning it around to want to use what she has to help people.
Yeah, the prevailing themes of hope and second chances. And at no point, like so many of the villains in this, which I found sort of goofy in the best way, right? Like you want supervillains to kind of be blue-faced maniacs with giant capes, right? Like doing magic. Right. Like you want that. But they in this first issue, you know, the first bad guy is trying to like use Wanda's life and all of the things that have gone bad as a way of crippling her, and says these devastating things to her. And at no point is she like, you know, well, you didn't understand, or she doesn't try to explain it away, or, you know, buckle under the pressure or feel the shame that would come from having done all, you know, having all these horrible things happen. Instead, the emphasis is always on hope and on second chances and on being able to remake yourself and kind of own that and be like, yeah, I fully fucked up and look at me doing better now. And that is the kind of story, that is the kind of like the ineradicability of hope that I live for. And I think Steve hit all the notes just right and managed to have fun with it too, you know. And there are these themes of family throughout it, found family and sisters and daughters, but also, you know, Pietro is so great in it. And I love, one of the things that I love about Marvel Comics when they're doing it right is getting those sibling interactions or those family interactions right. I think if you can do that, if you can tell a story about complicated families in a way that is wholesome and, you know, and is still like funny and like chummy, then you're going to nail it, because that's what Marvel is, right? Like that's the X-Men, and that's, you know, the Maximoff family, and that's, you know, a callback to my own work, Silk and her little brother Albert. Like if you can do these things correctly, like if you can make that feel real, I think it really resonates. And yeah, and I loved it. Yeah. I loved it in this.
She's almost she's unflappable in this book, because
yes.
Here's let's just use this as an example. The Lo Mysterium thing, the necklace that is opaque to magic, as they said in the book. So you have something that can, in a sense, negate your powers. It pierces you like a bullet at one point. And she's just like, we got to get to the bottom of this. And then not only that, but Orlando compounds it that you have the Scythia, the Hippolyta as Scythia, who fashions a suit of armor made out of this stuff.
Yes.
And Wanda's just like, you left your chin unarmored, you big dope. Like she's just, no matter what is thrown at her in this book.
I thought that was wonderful. That little fight scene, you know, where she's like, I was also trained by the fucking Avengers, right? Like I have magic and I'm super powerful, but if you negate my magic, I can still fucking punch you in the face. Like
seriously, yeah.
And they get this great battle, this sort of like these two beefy women, one in Amazon, one Wanda, and they just kind of duke it out in a way that is just gorgeous. Just absolutely. And the eyes, the expressions on the face, the action shots. I mean, as an artist, anytime you read a book like this, it's a masterclass, but it's so enjoyable. And you just get a sense of like, I don't know, these characters, these women, you know, who believe in big lofty things, doing stuff for duty and honor and, you know, blood prices that have to be paid no matter what, and how you can kind of reach understanding with each other or not, or just punch each other in the face. It's doing a lot of things that are really enjoyable about comic books.
Yeah, it also plays against the masculine stereotype. That, you know, you have Superman fighting Doomsday and they're all bloody and ripped apart. Oh, these two big macho guys going at it. But there's, like, these are women. And when there's a time when thought may fail and they're just like, oh, fuck it, I'm going to beat the shit out of her. And that was very refreshing It's just, you don't often see that. I thought was great.
We're here for it.
Yeah.
Oh, especially when it is so beautifully rendered. And it really is. And so, so you get these guys, you get these characters who are bigger than life, who've made mistakes, who've experienced grief, right? There's that great line that's so iconic. What is grief if not love enduring, right? And this idea that that is such a cornerstone to the Scarlet Witch that it is, but it isn't something that she shies away from either, that this pain makes her stronger, but there's also joy, and so you have these big things that exist in relationship to one another instead of just, she's not a weapon of vengeance. She's not, hurt and pain made manifest, right? She's what all women are. She's a collection of all of these conflicting things, doing the best she can in a life that she's fucked up at certain points, right? That's the human thing about it. And I just found it so enjoyable, and God, it's so gorgeous. The brushwork. Pichelli's doing something with this brushwork that I love. It's very smartly written. I mean, I could groove on the art, and I'd be like, oh, that's a beautiful book. But I think the story complements the art very well. The whole concept of the last door is great because that could be used forever. That's something the tagline to this book is if your need is great. This is on the title page, right? If your need is great and your hope is gone, there you will meet the Scarlet Witch. And the whole premise around which Orlando is building this story is that Wanda has created basically an interdimensional railroad to this last door. When wherever you are, I think across universes, have no place else to go, you open this door and you end up with Wanda. You end up in this little store in Low-Key. Where is it? Low-Kill?
Lock-Kill.
Yeah, Lock-Kill, New York.
Yeah, New York. And so you end up in this little shop, and so you get these ragtag band of characters that come in anytime they need help. And I love that as a storytelling device. And also to just keep it on this theme, right? You have this big overarching theme of hopelessness and hope in the darkness, and that Wanda gets to be that light. God, I love it, man. I love it. It's a really clever storytelling tool because you always have, the resources are right there. One issue, hey, Reed Richards just came through the door. What's going on here? It could be literally anyone in the Marvel Universe, from humans to gods. That's a really neat concept. Yeah. That you could just do little character studies if you wanted to. Orlando will never be out of ideas with this book. Yeah. Yeah, and it's beautifully done. And also you can tell. So you have the writer and the artist team that are bringing the things that they love about their lives to it. I know Steve has lived in Russia for a little while, and I wondered what kind of Russian or Romanian influences would permeate the work, and almost none of them are in there. Instead, what I was delighted to find were all of these little references to food and to fancy things. At a certain point, he's got Pietro complaining about the crappy takeout in this podunk backwater that his sister is holed up in. But then, she serves this tea that I didn't know existed. I had to look up. It's spelled P-U-E-R-H. Puer tea? I don't know. Do you guys know how to pronounce that? I like the way you do it. I'll just be mispronouncing everything. Sarah
I would like a cup of puer, please.
Puer tea, which I had to look up. So she makes, Wanda makes this for the first, the Italian woman that comes in the very first episode, I think. And it is in a raw form. So it's a fancy tea is what it is. It's called the Bordeaux of tea, which I had to laugh out loud because Steve Orlando is such a food snob and I love him for it. And so of course he put in the Bordeaux of tea into this book. But when it is raw, it's similar to green tea. When it's cooked, it's similar to a dark black tea. And then you can also, there's a third thing you can do to it, but I don't know enough about it. And this is from the Yunnan province of China. and it's just fantastic. Like there were all these little, foody things that permeated the work in a way that I really liked. The oil and water. At a certain point, she feeds what is like it's called a sarmale. And I was like, is this like a tamale? It is a Romanian cabbage roll that Wanda feeds to like the nightmare creature that's inside the daughter. And, and it's just so funny to me and so specific that, of course, I'm learning about sarmales. I don't know if that's how you say it, guys, but Romanian cabbage rolls, that like, it just adds a depth of character and enjoyment for me personally for books like this when they're that specific, when there is stuff like that that's just tucked in and can make the universe feel richer and real and so much more enjoyable.
I think the twist on that, the Dream Queen, was amazing because here you have a creature, daughter of Nightmare, that gets their powers through negative emotions and dreams, right? And Wanda flips the script and feeds her this, what you said. But so now she consumes
a sarmale.
Yes. Now she has to consume bliss instead of the negative emotions, and it repulses her. Like it's like she's thrown up in her mouth, but she needs sustenance. So now she has a lifetime of consuming revolting things to her. That's just
which is going to be bliss. Like the premise of this particular episode, where the kid, who is a character I did not know existed before, this like Vision daughter. So, and also Pichelli.
Oh, you didn't read Tom King's Vision?
I did not read Tom King's Vision.
Okay.
Guys, don't come
now
at me.
You can.
Oh, it's fine.
Issues. Now you can.
You're good.
Okay. Maybe that'll be the thing I pick up next because I really enjoyed my introduction to this character. But yeah, so she's an AI and she has nightmares because this nightmare creature is feeding off of her terror. And the nightmare creature is like, human minds will break after a certain amount of time. I can feed on this, AI buffet forever, right? Like she's just it's gonna be great forever. And as a premise, that was so wonderful. Like that was such a good use, I think.
Yep.
Again, it's prescient, right? Like we're having all these conversations about the role of AI and the way it intersects with humanity. And here we have this character who's kind of that intersection. And it was wonderful, man. There was just something so deeply enjoyable about this series, and the interesting way that it continued, like it is linear, it's building on itself, but every issue is doing something different and kind of unique, right? Like you have that sort of D&D adventure where they go into the subatomic universe.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my favorite issue.
It was a great issue. And instead of, telling the story in a linear fashion, entire pages are just sort of, the recap of the battle that's already happened. And, and it's these three women banding together. Two of them are, sisters, and one of them, they're helping save her people. And it's gorgeous. And it's sort of, I don't know, it's using the medium of comics in such a compelling and beautiful way. It's what we love about comics, man.
Yep. And it lets Sara unleash her design prowess because, I mean, she's drawn a whole mess of stuff here. Environments, giant witches. I mean, how long did they spend in Subatomic? It seems like they were in there for a long time. And then Wanda's just like, you know what? You got this. We're gonna head out. And then she bonds with Polaris because they've never really had the tightest of relationships. But I learned something in researching this book.
Tell me, what did you learn?
Wanda's not a mutant anymore. They've retconned that.
What is she?
She is a human mutate. as far as the Wikipedia goes, a 2015 storyline revised Wanda's origin, establishing that her superhuman traits are entirely a result of experimentation done by the High Evolutionary and on inherited magic abilities. Like Franklin Richards and other characters, her genetics were such that standard X gene tests gave a false positive, meaning she was never actually born a mutant. I did not know that.
Interesting.
Because I don't remember exactly what the fallout was from No More Mutants, but if she was a mutant, she ran the risk of eliminating her own powers, correct, Dap?
Yeah. Well, she decimated like 90%. So she may have just been the one out of 100 that would have been saved. Or maybe it doesn't affect her, like her spells don't affect her.
Yeah, it's still kind of dumb. And I like the fact that they retconned it to make her not a mutant. Because I don't think Franklin should be a mutant either. I'm glad.
No, well, I mean, but his parents are powered, so it would make sense for him to be a mutant. If he does have powers, it would make sense for him to be a mutant because he'd be born with them.
Yeah, I just think it's just playing into the old
an easy way out.
Yeah, stereotype. Yeah. You know, like whatever. He could be special without being a mutant.
I feel like for me, this is when it gets a little too in the weeds for me personally. Like I just it's just cutting so close to the bone on that. I don't think I honestly have an opinion.
Right. Which is a nice way of saying who gives a shit. Like I don't care. It's true. As long, and we say it all the time, as long as the stories are good and entertaining and engaging, the continuity more or less. I mean, if they do something blatantly out of continuity, okay, you pick up on it. But if in the bigger picture, it really doesn't matter. As long as the stories are entertaining.
Yeah. Enjoy the story.
Just tell good stories. Just tell good stories.
Yeah.
And, that have gorgeous women in them and, are sort of deconstructing sisterhood and family and friendship, right? We've got the Darcy angle and taking care of each other and second chances. And there's a lot of queer shit, right? That's built in. Mm-hmm. You've got, an interracial lesbian couple, an Italian.
Right off the bat, first issue.
Right off the bat, first issue. And then, you've got all these other sort of the examination of different female friendships and powerful friendships, right? Like, and women taking care of each other and sort of blended families. This idea of Wanda Maximoff as a kind of stepmother to the Vision kid. But, and them talking about the weird relationship there. And I just think that it's doing so much, but not behind the scenes, just sort of it's baked in to what is on the surface, in your face, a fun, vibrant, well-written, poppy, gorgeous story. Like this is the comic book. If you're reading a comic book right now, it should be this one. It's fucking great.
Yeah. Right, you're right. The whole Wanda Vivian thing is really strange because Wanda was the template for Vivian's consciousness in the same way that the Vision had templates for his consciousness. So if she I agree with you as she's like a surrogate stepmother, but it's like she's babysitting herself in a way.
Yes,
it's odd.
It is. It's very odd, and and there's I don't know that there's a right way to talk about it, but the fact that that they try to talk about it, that they try to address it, is just really nice. I was extremely pleased with this whole series,
and big digital hug to you for pushing this under my nose, and I'm sure Daph still feels the same way. No, it was really good. I mean, come on, I have to be honest.
Look at this.
If I didn't like it,
line, Vince.
Oh yes.
Listen to this line, okay? It came in like issue 4 or 5. Heroism must not be about the recognition of the savior, but the elevation of the saved. I mean, that's a flex, man. That is a good fucking line, Steve Orlando. That is a good line.
Orlando was making eggs one day, and that line came to him: "Burn the eggs."
I'm gonna ask him. He would never burn eggs. I will say that. He would never.
My man.
I have to get this down.
Heroism must not be about the recognition of the savior, but the elevation of the saved. Oh, it was so good, man. There's a lot of deconstruction stuff. It's big, heady stuff, but it's not too wordy. It's not verbose. It's not, you don't have to pay attention to the fancy tea. You can skip the fact that it says Pura and just read that she made some tea, right? Like, it doesn't beat you over the head with any of this stuff, but if you give a shit, it's there. And God, do I love the reward system in careful reading. I love that.
One of the things that I resisted typing for my notes while reading this because I find it kind of cringy.
Okay.
Strong female character. that kind of gets to me a little bit because that shouldn't be noteworthy these days. It should be the norm, right? Where oh wow, all of the characters in this book, the strong female characters. I think they're strong characters who just happen to be female.
Yeah.
Well,
you wouldn't say strong male character in a Batman or Superman book.
Oh, so why we got to say that?
Right, because we live in a patriarchy, and the idea of toxic masculinity is the norm that needs to be deconstructed. We do not live in an equal society, and so when things are different or queer or feminine in a positive way, when you have different iterations of the female figure or strength and it isn't just resiliency in the face of constant abuse, right? Like, there's hope here. There's joy. There's friendship. There's jokes. There's all of this stuff that adds to the texture and the complex human relationships between very different women. That is wonderful, right? Like, and yes, different ages. There's like mother-daughter stuff. There's sister stuff. There's found family stuff. There's friendship stuff. There's adversary stuff. And, and while all of them could be under the blanket term of strong female character, I think that's too much of a reduction. It is, and instead of saying, let's not say strong female character, let's say strong female character and then dive into the particulars of what we fucking loved about it, right? Like, sift through it, really get in the weeds. And dig that stuff up. I think that there's a lot to praise and love in that stuff.
Right.
And so instead of trying to get rid of it, really crack it open, add more stuff to it.
Well, from my perspective, those words are usually uttered by a man doing commentary on the book. So that's why I find it kind of embarrassing. Now, if I was on the other side of the genetic coin, I probably would find it like you do.
Yeah.
But it'd be these patterns of behavior that we're with which we're wired. They're hard to shake, right? I mean, I fuck up pronouns all the time, and it's not because I don't care. It's just because I've been walking a path 50 whatever years, and it's hard. Like, my daughter is they them.
Yeah.
And to me, like, I just said daughter. I should have said child. Right?
Yeah.
And so whenever I introduce her, I say this is my spawn. She doesn't like that either. But they don't like that either. See, I still do it just because I've experienced her as a baby girl. So it's hard to shave that from my memory. Yeah.
It is, and it's a tough question. I had to learn nibbling instead of sibling is a thing gender. So when you have a gender non-binary kid that, is a sibling, you can call them a nibbling, right? So it's adorable. It's also just a generally adorable freaking word, and one of my favorite of all the gender non-binary and sort of pronoun games. Nibbling is one of my favorites.
I am writing that down right now because I am going to use that and gain massive points.
Nibbling is great. I don't think that sibling is gendered necessarily, but I love that like nibbling is this new word that has come out of what wasn't really, a sibling is a sibling, and so you get a nibbling is this other thing, but we're all figuring it out. And so one of the things that I especially loved about the execution of this gorgeous, fun, zany at times, emotionally deep at times story is all of the variation, right? All of the variation of character and the development of all of these different types of people. And when Wanda is put under pressure, she is seen to be clever and empathetic and sort of relentless about hope in a way that I find inspiring, because it is so easy to fall into despair, especially when you have such bad shit happen in your life.
Right.
And there's just this word, ineradicability, right? Like there is an ineradicability of hope about this story that I especially love, and is only made, more loving because of how gorgeous it is. And the colors too. I don't think I've said enough about the colors. There is something exquisite about what Matt Wilson is doing. His use of negative space, the whites, like his watercolor washes. There is an ombre to Wanda's outfit, right? Like it's in the character sheet too. Which if you read the book, there's, some design notes and an interview, and like there's very cool behind the scenes stuff. I love it when they include those sorts of things. But her dress sort of fades, right? Like there's an ombre into stars. It goes from that iconic red or pink to like starry night at the tips of her dress. And when she does magic, that same sort of ombre happens, and it's just absolutely stunningly gorgeous, and I love it. But then he'll do that sort of red fade into stars against a white background, right? So for that very stark visual, there's something so arresting and beautiful about the execution of this book. I just fully love it.
Yes, she has. For those of you who haven't sampled this book, Wanda now has a coriander, starfire type trail to her hair, where whenever she moves, it undulates and twists behind her, and it's really, really well done. But to get back to how, the colors, there's not a solid color in this book.
It's so good.
It's either color will be either kissed with a texture or a gradation, and it's not to my. I mean, computer coloring, when done really well, like this, doesn't scream computer coloring. There's a very organic, layered, textured beauty to his work, where other guys are just clicking on the fill tool and just it's measured and tasteful.
And there's something on a panel by panel basis that's just so gorgeous as well. Also, Vince, kissed by texture?
Yes.
That's amazing. What a good way to describe this.
Thank you. Can we get back to nibbling just for a second? I want to know how to use it in a sentence. So what do I say? Don't be inconsiderate to your nibbling. Would that be okay? Yes. Gotcha.
Yes. Consider the feelings of your nibbling. If you have a nibbling, you introduce them as, this is my nibbling. Whatever.
I am going to light her world on fire.
Their world.
Their world, sorry. See, I'm trying.
Hey, it's, as long as you're trying, I think that is one of the most important things, is to just care enough and to try. And
I can't stop. She is, they are extracted from me almost completely. Mia is, I don't want to say a carbon copy because they're their own person, obviously.
Yeah.
But all of their likes, dislikes, tastes exactly like mine.
Can I just tangent really quickly? So,
sure,
if you guys don't mind. I had an experience this weekend where I was playing Settlers of Catan with one of my friends that I've known forever, right? Like, she was one of my very first girlfriends way, way back in college when we were wee babs. And she fully has a 15-year-old son right now. and we were playing Settlers of Catan, and I'm sitting across from this boy that I have not seen in a decade. Again, and his mother, who I know intimately, like I know every mood of this woman, right? Like I know her so well, and it's the kind of friendship where we haven't seen each other for a long time, and then we have, and so, but there's something so familiar about it, and I have this experience where she did not birth this boy. None of her genetics are in this child. She raised him, so it's a nurture versus nature situation, right. And I find myself having this out-of-body experience because I am looking at and interacting with a golden-haired clone of one of my dear friends, who the way he is bargaining, the frank way he looks at you, his mannerisms, this is her child, right? Like this is a carbon copy of her, and it was the most uncanny, wonderful experience as I'm like looking at the two of these human people. And just having this sort of like, oh my God, isn't this fantastic experience? And I wonder, Vince, if it's like that with you and your kid. I mean, obviously you have genetics involved here, but so much of, I think, who we are goes into our kids.
Yes.
That it's a wild trip, man. As
a child, they didn't cling to a teddy bear or what were those? Beanie Baby or anything like that. Yeah. They had an Ultraman Taro doll, and Mia would go nowhere without the Ultraman doll. And I just said, "This is me." Yeah,
this is me.
But I always like to think of it this way: I'm a firm believer in nurture, because if Doomsday was raised by the Kents. And not thrown into that forced evolution murder machine, Doomsday could have been the greatest hero of all time.
I love it. Write that story, Vince. I want to read that story. But yes, nurture has so much to do with things, and especially if we're talking about mutants and genetics and whatever. Like, biology also accounts for things. But the way you are raised and the people you are raised around, and whether or not like kindness and care, like the values, but there was just something so uncanny and deeply beautiful about this experience that I had with this kid that like was so much my friend's child, right? Like it was just, I don't know, it was sort of quiet and extraordinary.
I'm
feeling
it.
Yeah, baby. What else did we read this week?
Well, hey, do you see how much mileage we got out of The Scarlet Witch? So we implore you to read this thing. And if you want to see the design page that Tana was talking about, go to the website, 11o'clockcomics.com. Click on the link for this episode. And there's a gallery. And in there you will see that image. And it's just wonderful.
And I think it was by, because, we now have to give credit where credit's due, Russell Dauterman. Dauterman is the guy that did the design for that and then went on to do, I want to say issue 3, but I'm not sure, of this 5-issue series. Was it 5? And so, it just the character choices, the way Pichelli stayed on model with the shoes. You can tell that Sara loves fashion. Like, she... and maybe drag queens, because like that whole dream, you want one of the sexiest comics out this year, go get the episode where she fights the Nightmare Queen. It's so good. Dream Queen. Oh man. But I left her tastes unchanged. The joy she needs will disgust her. Dream Queen joked that I'd come to appeal to her better nature. I thought I'd give her one. It must be agony. It's so good. She's giving her a better nature, and there's like that Schadenfreude about it. So good.
You got to read this, people. There was one thing that threw me, though. Darcy. I thought that before they mentioned her name, I thought
Selma?
Yes, I thought it was Doctor Strange, Doctor Strange's protege. And then they're like Darcy Lewis, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's Marvel Cinematic Universe. How is this happening?
Yeah,
but it's cool.
So, because I mostly consume Marvel stuff in the movies, don't judge me, but like, I do read comics, but listen, guys, I immediately saw the Darcy from the movies as this Darcy, and I was like, oh, that's a great callback. She's one of the most, like, easy to like comic relief
And she was in WandaVision.
And she was in WandaVision, and
Right.
she was so good in WandaVision. And so I feel like, so for me, I like clicked onto that being this girl immediately and really liked it. I was like, oh, this is a good choice.
Well, I'm kind of glad that you didn't read the annual,
Yeah.
because my one pet peeve from WandaVision is the
Agatha.
youthful Agatha Harkness. I can't see it. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't need it. And that seems to be the prevailing template.
Ooh, I don't like that idea at all.
Yeah, she's young and beautiful and witty,
Captain
and yeah, I mean, Agatha always was the old lady that came to the door with the cat when the Fantastic Four needed magic help, right?
Yeah.
And this really doesn't work for me. But I mean, the annual was fun. And I'm sure that Orlando's just doing what he's told with the characters. Like, you got to make Agatha look like this. Well, that's fine.
Yep.
I'm not the target audience for any Marvel book, so being an old fart. But yeah, this was great, and love you even more for suggesting it.
Yay, thanks.
We did read a whole mess of stuff, and I'm just going to unleash you two on this one, and I'll add some flavor. Pun intended, commentary. We read a little book called Chef's Kiss.
Oh,
Ooh, baby.
reread. Maybe one of us did, but yes.
Oh no, this was my first exposure.
Yes, yes.
Yes, written by Jarrett Melendez, illustrated by Danica Brine, with color art by Hank Jones, and it's published by Oni Press.
Yeah. I love that I got to have you guys read an adorable little gay romance book.
I enjoyed it a lot. The struggle was real on the first couple pages because there's a whole mess of dialogue, and it's just,
I know.
It's like ground zero in the lives of these four friends, and you have to distinguish the various characters and their personalities, and you try and come to terms with. I mean, it's ridiculous how likable Ben is. So very smart. What with him being the main character, but yes, but to Jarrett's credit, I just leaned into it, and because it was effortless to enjoy this thing. But I want to hear you two talk about it.
Dave, what did you think?
It's very just like I mentioned last year. This was I didn't have I didn't know what to expect when I saw it offered, but I couldn't stop. I do believe I said that I once I started, there was really no putting the book down because I was so interested to see Ben's journey. There's really only one thing he wanted to do, and then of course, you want to. He's wants to train to be a chef, and then this little, not so little, wrinkle or good-looking wrinkle, kind of just maybe might derail his plans, his goals just a little bit. But it's a good problem to have. But it's it's a good-looking book, and the whole concept of it, I'm at a point right now where I need pretty much anything food or drink related. I'm going to check out.
Ooh.
In a comic book form. It's whether it's to drink and to eat, whether it's she loves to cook, she loves tea, whether it's Chef's Kiss, whatever. If I see something in previews that has something to do with food, like the what the hell was it? The Brian Wood book from a few years ago from Image Star. That was crazy. It was dark, but it was still about food and cooking and the lengths people go through and go to. But this was a little bit more down to earth, a little bit more. It was extremely accessible and characters that you absolutely cared about.
Now, why do you think that you're drawn to books about food and drink right now? Why is that hitting the sweet spot for you?
Can I answer that for him?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Food and drink are David's therapy. It's the way he deals with the world. He loves to cook, and he's very good at it. Mm-hmm. And he also loves, and he also loves his spirits. So anything that could take the real world and translate it into to keep it in the thematic zone of this book into an easily digestible, nourishing, tasty little experience, David's going to go for it. But I mean, he can answer himself, but I just want to jump in there from my perspective. David usually shops in the shit Vince B wouldn't read with a gun to his head aisle. But to his credit, usually when he makes me read these things, I enjoy them like you did. So maybe I'm just reluctant to experience things outside of my comfort zone. But whatever. David, tell him.
We're gonna have to dig into that, Vince.
I know.
I mean, I've not entirely been joking lately that I'd quit my job tomorrow if I could be a line cook at any of the restaurants in my neighborhood.
Ooh.
I want to. What I do right now, my current 9 to 5 doesn't it doesn't make me happy, and it also doesn't really. I mean, it's at a school. I'm in the IT department at a college, so I mean, it's my work does affect other people, benefits other people, but I'd rather do something where I could see a reaction more instantaneously. And not, I don't want to play the long game. I like cooking for my friends, I like cooking for my family, and I want to improve. I want to keep getting better. If I'm at work and I'm just, plugging away on some code or fixing a computer, that's A and B. That's just, there's a beginning, middle, and end there, and that's it. And once that's done, that's it. And you can put it away, but there's no improving. You can only put RAM in to slots so many different ways. And whereas, preparing a dish, you can experiment and change things around and see what needs to be improved on. So that I want to constantly learn. I just want to, if I give somebody a dish and there's a look on their face that they're not quite sure, that I know that there's something I need to tweak or just change. And I like that constant evolving and just trying to better yourself.
Dude, you're the guy in the frickin', is it Amazon commercial? The dude that's working as a security guard and he's ordering all this shit and he's making sandwiches for his coworkers and he's trying new recipes. And then at the end of the commercial, he walks by, like, he doesn't love his job. You could tell. And he walks by this restaurant that has a short order cook wanted sign in the window, and he stops and he looks at the sign and he goes in and he takes, you know what I mean? That's you. You're that guy.
Sounds like me.
But anyway,
what I'm hearing, there is this wonderful quote by Khalil Gibran that is, it is work is love made visible, and I feel like that's what you're missing, right?
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like what you want is, that connection, that relationship, right? That you can have this variation, doing the same thing every day, chopping ingredients, adding them in, temperature, heat, salt and sweet, like the result of what you do isn't going to be RAM in this slot, RAM in that slot. And it's the same thing. There's the potential for change, for, growth, and underlying it all, this idea of like pleasure, right? Like eating, when you're really enjoying what you're eating or cooking, is a pleasure. Oh,
I wake up Saturday morning, we go to the farmer's market, and my wife is sitting here, she's planning out things to do around the house, where the money's going to go, what projects we're working on. I'm just planning out the next couple nights of dinner. That's like that's as far as my plan. And I'll go out and I'll find ingredients and I'll be like, okay, so this is what I'm going to make tonight. And that's kind of just how we go about it. And then there are a couple of things that I have a few things that I just constantly are easy to make that I'll just, like this.
What's a go-to? What's a go-to for you? Give it to me, baby.
Lately it's been, I've been fucking around with tofu. We've got some noodles, and I'll make a marinade, and I'll crisp up the tofu and add it with all the sauces I combined, and then throw the noodles in. There's a quick little shrimp dish I got. It's just,
what's your sauce? Don't gloss over the sauce. The sauce is in a noodle dish. That's the magic sauce. It's soy sauce. It's tamari. It's a little bit of mirin. It's the rice vinegar. A few drops of sesame oil. Black pepper, maybe some chili flakes, depending on what else is going on. But it's just, and there's no measurements. I don't write anything down. So like there might be, there's a little bit of, if I've screwed up in the past and I might have put in a little bit too much soy sauce. So then I got to get the light brown sugar to kind of like, sweeten it up so it's not super salty, but it's just, there's, so that'll be for the tofu. I stopped buying, I can't eat, I can't buy a loaf of bread like off the shelf anymore. I won't. Yes.
I can't really do like the Hostess cupcakes or Twinkies anymore. If I don't make it, I have to be able to make it because I can't stand the taste of anything off the shelf. I refuse to buy. I haven't bought jar spaghetti sauce. Everything I buy are no, well, right, no, but I'll buy either crushed cans of tomatoes, either crushed or pureed or tomato sauce that I'll doctor and season myself, and it's not going to be anywhere near as sweet as whatever the hell ragu or Prego's got in jars. It's just, so I try to do, I'll one of my favorites, I love making lasagna from scratch, complete with the sheets. I'll make my own pasta.
Do you really? You have the machine, you're cranking it out, you're doing the whole...
It's the attachment on the KitchenAid, so it'll do it for me, but so I'll make my own pasta sheet.
You know what we use our pasta maker for?
Oh, God. I have no idea what you're about to say, Vince.
Sculpey, clay. Mia and I, we use it to make our clay come out nice and flat and long, and then we use it to...
Love it.
Yeah.
My cousin does that. My cousin definitely does that,
too. I have a crap job, too. But
Vince,
I feel like you're getting the wrong message out of this whole conversation.
As usual.
And it took me, and that's the other thing is that where I am right now in my life, if I had tried this 10, 20 years ago, it wouldn't have been the same. I probably would have been frustrated and have given up on a lot. It took me a long time to just realize that mistakes are just what I need to learn from. And I can't get upset if a dish doesn't come out the way I wanted it to, if a cake falls, right now, the favorite thing, she says the best thing, but my wife's favorite dessert or sweet thing from me is called Queen Amman. It's basically it's a layered pastry. It's kind of like a somewhat sweet croissant because it's just layered with dough and butter, and then you sprinkle caster sugar on it, and then you bake it. You sprinkle a little bit more sugar on top so that it gets a little brown. But they don't last long. I don't make them often because I can't have them in the house because you're just eating pounds just looking at them. But I'll give them away to some friends, and then they hound me to make it again. But so that's that's when I began to realize that baking is science and cooking is just feeling. Because I don't care when I'm cooking a dish. I season with feeling. I just, whatever feels right, that's how much of it goes in. But obviously with baking, you need to be exact with the measurements, with time, with everything else. So that's baking. I enjoy baking, but I don't have as much fun baking as I do with cooking.
Nice.
Tab. Baking is science, cooking is just feeling is one of the best lines to come out of this whole podcast.
I don't think I can take credit for it, but okay.
All right. There you go. Let's
it's perfect because the whole thing in this book about Chef's Kiss is about the minute variation of recipe and the science, but also the feeling, the romance feeling, but also just the feeling behind cooking things.
Right.
And that was one of the most enjoyable things about this very adorable romance book about friendship and working in a restaurant and following your passion.
Exactly.
The line work is very clean and I don't know. It has kind of, I don't read a lot of manga, but I feel like you guys would say this is manga adjacent, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, especially Ben and Liam. Yeah, very much so.
Yeah,
but
there's like a senpai, like a mentor-mentee romance.
I wanted to set it up for the people playing at home because we've been dancing around it, but it's about a young man named Ben who just happens to be gay, right? And he graduates college and is thrust into the gainful employment world, but he's caught in that trap where he can't get a job because he doesn't have any experience, but he can't gain any experience without a job. So he goes and he always wanted to be a writer, and that's what his repulsive, overbearing, domineering parents want him to be, because that was the template that they thrust upon him. Well, he likes to write, he's going to be a writer. So they try and manipulate him in various ways to do what he seems to have always wanted to do. So he's down on his luck. He even tried to be a garbage man, but he couldn't get the job because he didn't have any experience. So he's fate has it that he sees a restaurant that needs help. So he throws caution to the wind, goes in and applies, and wouldn't you know it, he's faced with Liam, a gorgeous dude, and pretty much falls over himself in front of the guy, and he takes the job, but there are conditions. He must pass a number of tests, culinary tests, in order to be hired. And the really cool twist is that Ben doesn't have to cook for the owner of the restaurant, which is Chef Davis. He has to cook for a pig named Watson. Yeah.
It's adorable.
It is very adorable. Yes, it is.
We love a little pig.
And I guess one of the takeaways for me is sometimes you don't get the resolution you always thought you wanted, but you get the resolution that you secretly needed.
What does that mean, Vince?
Well, he was thinking that, well, I have to walk that tightrope. I have to, please the parents. This is what I'm supposed to do. And it's very hard to buck your programming when you're told you will be a writer because you love to write. You're so good at it. Why don't you do it? It's very hard to run counter that and say, but no, I've really enjoyed this cooking thing. Like, this is great. I'm going to.
Yep.
And the romantic angle, too. I mean, there's that.
It's a very sweet, sort of toned down romance. The whole book, spoiler, turn away, earmuffs if you don't want to know, ends on their first kiss, right? Like, there's nothing really, it's just sort of like looks and cooking and, kind of harmless flirtation through the whole thing. And it's sweet and like, Ben lives at home with 4 roommates, or like an insane amount of human people living in the same space.
Yeah.
It's too many people, but it's cute, and so you're experiencing all these different friendships and community, and trying to support each other at this very transitional stage in life.
I gotta say, there were moments in the story where I wanted to shake Ben. I really wished I could reach into the panel and shake him, because Liam is making. I mean, he's picking up what Ben's putting down, and Ben is just completely oblivious to it.
Yep. Yeah,
And
he's too shy.
He is, or maybe he's not as assured into thinking that this gorgeous guy would be into him. I don't know, but I thought it was. I don't want to say cute, because I think that downplays it a little bit. There's it's a very heartfelt story. That
I think cute is good. I wonder. I'll ask. I think cute was the intention. I think this is intentionally cute. I think it's okay to call this cute. It is aggressively cute. The whole story. And
Watson's really cute.
Oh my gosh.
And seems to be possessed with an extra human intelligence. Like the pig can almost talk.
I know, and he escapes and things. Also, the illustrator having to draw a pig is difficult, right? Like you have to do a lot of expression work, and it escapes the pen, and it has to be shown like really enjoying food. That's going to be hard. Animating that pig in a way that like it still reads as a realistic pig and not a cartoon. We're walking a fine line here.
And there's a really fun mythology to the pig where may or may not be true. There are a lot of tall tales focusing on the pig, where removed from a bad situation, he saw his parents go down, and he's part superhero at one point, and it's probably not true, but it could be true. Like, you don't really need to know whether or not they're true. And I think that's the joy of that, where Chef Davis loves this pig so much that you don't really need to know exactly where he came from. Only the fact that the chef loves the pig, and vice versa.
I know.
It's really neat.
It's cute. It's sweet. It's harmless. There's a lot of very food-centric stuff. The minutia of it, the cooking stuff, the things, David, that we were talking about earlier, like with your fascination with food, soy, tamari, mirin, little drops of sesame oil, like all of that specificity is in this book in a way that I found deeply enjoyable, because I'm a person that enjoys specificity. But it's great. It's sweet. There's a lot. The line work is very thin, right? Like, so you have, I don't know if it's all with brush pens or microns, but not a lot of over rendering, just very sort of clean line work, which I think works for this story very well. It feels like manga to me, but I don't read enough manga to be like, oh, this is definitely influenced there. And I just like it. It's a clean, crisp kind of storytelling that does a lot of work with like group shot. There's always many. As an artist, I'm looking for, how an artist accomplishes the job. There's a ton of people in every panel. This girl worked, man. Yeah.
I think it's a very, very realistic, very believable environment.
Yeah.
Which is not easy to do, because you could run the risk of over-rendering.
Yeah.
I believe that they're in a restaurant. I believe they're in a kitchen, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And there was just something about it that wormed its way into my heart, and I was like, I very much enjoyed it. I think Rachel is my favorite character, though.
Why Rachel?
Just because she's wacky and off the wall and gets into character. She's taking a class on Shakespeare, and she gets into the yea verily and all that. I mean, she doesn't break character until she's done with that part of the class, and then she becomes something else. I thought that was really neat.
There was a moment where I thought she was going to do it for the entire book, and I was like, it's going to be too much. It's going to be too much if she's just quoting Shakespeare the whole time. That's going to be too much. But she drops it after, I think, the first, it's episodic. So after like issue 1 or chapter 1, she drops it. But verily,
Yeah.
So good.
The whole Ben Liz relationship was odd to me, just because whenever I have a disagreement with someone, you just talk about it, but they let the thing simmer and they go their separate ways for a little bit. I mean, narrative tension, that's great. But I was just like, you guys are wasting time. You're friends. You know you're going to make up. Like, just talk it out and move on. But
I feel like at that age, so, for me, I'm looking back at the time that I lived in a house with, like, lots of people, and there were these friendships and things. Like, that minor shit will ruin a relationship at that time.
Yeah.
You don't know how to talk about things yet. You do let things fester. There are too many people under one roof, right? Like, that seemed very of the story for me. And I'm glad that they figured it out, but because it is a hopeful and optimistic story, but I did not see them inevitably figuring it out.
It was pretty strained there for a couple.
And it read as realistic to me. Like,
very.
That there are, and I like that there are more than one, there in this story are more than one relationship that is important, right? Like, it wasn't completely centered on this romantic entanglement. It was also about the, like, boss, the main Davis, the main chef relationship, and how he refuses to use the name and Ben's name and continues to call him the wrong name, and there's kind of a degradation there. But then we'll defend him when the parents come in,
right,
to be like, you can't work here, we don't want you here. The chef is like, he's excellent and talented, and you need to leave my restaurant, right? Like, there's that relationship, there's the Liz relationship, there's the friendship relationships, there's friends giving advice on romantic partners, on work situations. There's a lot going on here. I feel like Jarrett had a lot of, oh my God, he's going to flip out, balls in the air here. And I think he managed them very well.
I agree. Can you imagine living through that sequence where the parents come into the restaurant?
Oh my God.
So here you're at the precipice of getting something you've worked extremely hard for. You put all of your creative energy into this thing. You're almost at the finish line. You're nervous. It's uncertain whether you're going to pass or not. You're in a position that makes you very vulnerable. And in walks these I don't even want. Yes, overbearing, just repulsive
unhappy
people. Yeah, and almost pulled the rug right out from underneath them. If the chef wasn't a bigger person, he would be like, I don't need this drama. See you later.
Yeah.
Like, just get out of my restaurant. Ben was lucky, but the parents didn't know that, right? Yeah. So I just like, let's have a little bit of love for your kid and let them fail if need be, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well said.
It's a very good book. Do you know if there's going to be successive volumes?
I am not at liberty to say, but hey, if we want to see more of them, let's email Oni Press and demand Chef's Kiss 2.
Oh, nice! Because I really need to know what happens with Ben and Liam.
No, but here's why we can't know what happens, because they're just going to break up. Because listen, guys.
No,
maybe they break up at the beginning, but they get back together by the end.
No,
okay, I like that.
This book is too optimistic. No, they can't break up. No.
They're gonna, they will. They're gonna be pulled. You can't have, there's no story if they're happy, right? So.
Right. Oh, I hate that.
Yeah. So while we want there to be a book 2, we also don't, because it means sadness.
Well, it does end on the perfect note. I mean, it's right there in the title. So it is a complete package, and y'all should read it. But I would read another volume of this if it came out. I'm just saying.
I would too.
So do you have any insight into what went into the making of this? Where does it come from? Is it life experience from Melendez or?
Yeah. Jarrett is a phenomenal chef. I went to a Pride barbecue where, oh my God, the food at this thing was incredible. And so the culinary background is absolutely there. And then the sort of like adorable queer romance stuff is also very much there. And the friend stuff. So I would say, in my opinion, he has drawn, very much from his own life, and maybe polished it up and made an adorable little story about things. So yeah, and there's the food that this man can cook is extraordinary.
Well, it seems very there's an authority to the events that at least I could tell that some, if not all, of the experiences were taken from real life, because you can't get this believable just making shit up.
Right. Yeah.
I do believe that like the friendships and the sort of like interpersonal stuff heavily drawn from life, but mostly 100% it's that like trading out the panko crumbs for tempura to make those squash blossom ricotta stuffed delicacies just that much crisper, right? Like he knows food in a way that is savant like, and it's wonderful. Yeah. So, and I think that definitely comes through in this book.
Liam may be a little too attractive, though.
There might be some idolized,
Yeah, I'm thinking this guy definitely has an OnlyFans. He has to. It's like, hi, I'm Liam. Would you like to visit my OnlyFans? Here you go. Here's the.
I mean, that's an angle for the sequel that I would not see coming, and that I would read with deep interest.
Nice. It was a wonderful, wonderful book. Again, how dare you?
I do what I do, guys. You bring me on the show, I'm gonna bring a lot of lady talk and a lot of gay shit, and whiskey. Like that's gonna be the trifecta for me. Fourth chair.
Yeah, forever. All right. Last but certainly not least, we read a little on the darker side than what we've... well, no, not so much, because Scarlet Witch got dark in spots. Mm-hmm. This is a little book called Monomyth, of which 2 issues have been published to date, written by David, I'm going to say Hazan, illustrated by Cecelia Valvo, color by Marissa Louise, and it's published by Mad Cave Studios. Now, of all the 3 of these books, this was the one that smack dab in the middle of my zone. Yeah, it was very surprising to me. I just tried it because I found Cecilia's art to be extremely compelling. I just saw a couple preview pages, and I'm like, I need to read this. But again, it like Chef's Kiss, there are relationships at the core of this, but not in the same vein. Definitely not. It starts with a wizard who's not long for the world, and they weave this final spell, and they gather 7 strangers from across time and space. And that's not enough to convince you to read this mini. Maybe a little more magic needs to be applied. You have a man named Cole Michaels from Detroit who's in a really sticky situation. He's strapped to a chair and he's beaten by someone for reasons unknown. You have a reporter from New York City who's held at gunpoint while on the precipice of breaking this huge story. There's a young lady named Julia who's a spirit medium, and she's called out as a fraud by one of her customers. There's a gulag in Siberia where this man named Vadim comes from. And when we first meet him, the guy is in an altercation with other people and ends up setting himself on fire. But you don't know it at that point. But his family also succumbed to fire. There's a woman named Vivian who's incarcerated in Tokyo, and a man named Dr. Ahmad Khan who has this really manipulative uncle, and he's pointing a gun at him when we first meet him, and he's demanding to know the location of his wife. Then there's a Alberto Hernandez, this gun-toting young man from Houston who is preparing to defend himself against this mass of people, and they're all just whisked away to this other realm. And you find out that the reporter and the young man strapped to the chair are estranged siblings. They're twins. And Ahmad and Vivian are married. And that was the woman he was trying to find. And it's just, they're brought to this other realm where a homunculus, one of my favorite words ever.
It is a great word.
I love homunculus. We used to call this really short guy we worked with homunculus, but not to his face. So this homunculus tells them all that they've been assembled because they're all future wizards. And they're like, what? No. They wig out naturally. If someone told you were a future wizard, you'd get kind of, you go off the edge a little bit. So Monkey disappears and gives them ample time to just scope out the place. And there's this MC Escher-like geometry to the place where stairwells intersect with other stairwells, which go up to nowhere. And it's all it's eye candy is what it is. Mm-hmm. And he reappears and he gives them these magical tools of the trade, wands and staffs and all this stuff. And the meat of the early story is they're accosted by these creatures that come out of the shadows, and the creatures are wearing the faces of their lost loved ones, which is a really cool way to flesh out a whole mess of backstory for all the characters. Yeah. Right? And they have these tendril-like tongue protuberances, and the protuberances worm their way down the characters' throats, which incites these flashes of past traumatic events, right? And we get little slivers of character building for all of the people, like the guy in the gulag, Vadim. His face is burned from a terrible fire that consumed his family, right? And Cole sees his dead father, who berates him for not digging into the events of his mother's death. And his sister Kara encounters their mother, who, scolds her for the very same reason. There's just a whole bunch of really damaging, traumatic experiences that these characters are forced to encounter through these creatures. And it's, at the end of the second issue, Viv, the creature that was connected to her, doesn't dislodge completely. And so Ahmad uses his staff to magic the monster away, and it doesn't have really great... there's disastrous consequences to this. But oddly enough, that's not the whole story, because it's all wrapped in this tale of a boy who would be king. And he's beset by terrible events. How that storyline weaves its way into the big tapestry is anyone's guess. Like, I don't completely know exactly what's going on here, but I need to know. And
I feel like nobody really knows. So I only have issue 2. It opens with the death of someone, right? I think, and then this issue 2 ends with what appears to be the death of Ahmad, who's just used his staff.
Right.
Are we going to get a death every episode? So who is the guy in issue 2? If you've got both of them, who's the dead body? The first line of issue 2 is he's dead.
Yeah.
What the hell did you do to him?
That's Alberto. Because
Alberto is dead.
He's dead because he picked up the magic items, and he's facing the homunculus. He's like, "You're going to tell us what's going on," and he points them at him, and he tries to kill him, but he ends up vomiting a ridiculous amount of ammunition.
It's very O-Henry. He
That's
says
what that is.
His command is to eat bullets, but he ends up regurgitating bullets.
Yeah.
So the bullets were actually in his stomach that he just pukes up, and that's what killed him.
So yeah.
It's beautifully disgusting. I love it. And so what's up with the boy king? Like, how does that factor into this? It's really strange.
It has D&D vibes to
yes.
it. It has, like we're all sort of, and also escape room vibes, right? Like not everybody's getting out of this. In fact, a lot of us are not getting out of this. Maybe one of us is getting out of this.
Right. It's very odd because some characters, like Cole and Julia, they speak the language of magic. In fact, Cole, you don't have the first issue, but Cole narrates some of it, and he's talking about the unpredictability of magic and the imposition of the will over reality. You know, that is part and parcel of what makes magic work. But there's other characters that don't, and it makes the homunculus' claim that they're all wizards extremely interesting. Like they may all be part of like an oceanic feeling where they're adrift in something much larger than themselves, but they just don't know it. Like, I don't think that the creative team has enough time because I believe this is a miniseries. Yeah. So how are you going to flesh all this out in like 5 issues?
Yeah, issue 3 is coming out in July, so by the time you guys read this, it'll probably be on, or listen to this podcast, it'll be on shelves. But yeah, I'm excited. I actually enjoyed this very much. The artistry is great. There's kind of a watercolor wash about it.
You need to get your hands
on
the first issue because
I tried. I wanted it as a physical book, and my LCS only had issue 2, and I was like, you know what? We're going live. I'm going to have to just pick it up and jump
in. We're going live. But the reason why I say you need to get it, because you, being an aficionado of D&D, there's a full-page splash in the first issue where they're dropped into this land. You see this really foreboding castle on the top of a hill, and the landscape is it looks like it's very much alive and intends to kill them. And out of the foreground, there's a chimera. And it chases them. Yeah, it chases them into the castle. That's how they willingly entered the castle. They didn't. I mean, they saw it. And they're just like, hell no. But when a chimera is chasing you, what do? You know.
Can you willingly do something if it's the only option? Right, like if it's getting inside the chimera or run into the haunted castle, right? Like you really can only do one thing.
Yeah, go talk to the homunculus.
Oh yeah, that. Did you guys ever read The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang? It had a creature in it. This is why I'm asking that, and I'm wondering if this is a mythology thing that I don't know. Maybe your listeners can let me know. The creature that changes faces, like this clicking insect-like many-limbed creature.
Right.
Has a face that looks like the face of your mother or child or father or loved one, right? And there is something about that is deeply unnerving, but I think also is a mythological creature. The name of this is Monomyth, and so they're probably drawing on mythology and chimeras and things like that. And I wonder what this creature is. I was first introduced to something like it in The Poppy War, which is a sci-fi series that's incredible. It's a trilogy. It's so good. But the description of this character, like imagine seeing, so you're a monster slayer. You're gonna go kill this monster, but it has the face of like your grandmother telling you to eat blueberry muffins, or so there's this emotional unsettling thing that like as humans we wouldn't be able to withstand the face of our mother, father, sister, which is what all of episode 2 is about in this Monomyth. And the whole idea of it is profoundly upsetting.
Well, it may not only be hinged on, one of the myths may be the artistic realm too, because that could very well be an Arthurian, the legend going into it. And then you have MC Escher. That landscape is pulled almost direct. I mean, it's heavily inspired by the work of M.C. Escher. So it may be a creative, mythological extraction. Like, who knows? I just like, there are a lot of questions.
Yeah, I like it, and the sort of brushwork, the watery wetness of the page, it lends itself to that atmospheric quality of mystery and unknown and the kind of changing environment. If you're going to live in a reality of M.C. Escher, then it has to feel like the floor is the ceiling.
Yes.
And the artwork does a very good job of translating that kind of vertigo to the reader. So very well paired. The writing and the art in this is definitely serving the story.
Yeah. There's an immediacy to the art, too, that I really love. There's a Janssen-esque application of ink. And the more expressive the line, the more you draw me in. And I just sucked it up. I think this, visually, it's a stunner. There are still big question marks hanging above my head, though. So I need to know what's going on.
Yeah, I like that.
They better stay away from Cthulhu, though. I don't like it when you get a very realistic depiction of Cthulhu. He's an elder god. He causes you to go insane, as do all Lovecraft's cosmic entities. It shouldn't be rigidly delineated. It should be very abstract and very expressive. And when they do the whole tentacled face with the wings, like it's don't set it in stone. Extrapolate and give me some abstraction. Then we're talking about it. Yeah.
Love it.
But anyway, no, I thought this was great. It's from a publishing company that I don't isn't within the crosshairs more often than not, but that may change because they're not something that I see Mad Cave Studios. Their books are not ones that I'll see readily available at the local shop. So you have to take it upon yourself to investigate these books. I'm sure they're not going to throw themselves at you like a Marvel or a DC. You have to put a little effort into it, but you will be rewarded because it was really, really good.
It was really good. Monomyth.
Yeah. All right. Well, we covered everything. How about that?
Yeah, baby.
You are the best.
Oh my gosh, we did it, guys. We did it.
Just remember.
At the end of the whistle pig. Let's whistle.
Oh, you drank both of them?
And I did.
Nice.
It absolutely delicious. What a fine way to end my private collection of drinks by the dram.
I'm just going to pretend you started them on that previous episode, and now you finished them here.
That's right. I like that.
Yeah, I like make believe. It's the best.
How was the younger?
The younger, it was very good. I preferred the first one, right? Like there was a nutty caramel sweetness to the first one that was just a little bit absent. Not that it was flat. Also, my ice was melting, so, for those whiskey aficionados, you'll know that kind of levels it out a little bit. And so maybe it wasn't a pure tasting. But yeah, deeply pleased is how I would rate my experience.
Nice.
Awesome.
Same on this end, too. Without the whiskey.
Of course. Yeah, your blue water's got to be slamming.
Hey, everybody, remember who made this possible. CheapGraphicNovels.com. Go there and pre-order the Romnibus. It's going to cost you $74.99. That's $50 off the list price of $125. And after you order it, you'll get an email confirmation that says, hey, thank you for ordering. And you reply to that saying, 11 o'clock comics sent me, and you will get free shipping on your second or next order. Simple. Very simple. And don't forget, we have a Patreon. Patreon.com/11 o'clock comics. Take a look around. If you like what you see, please, I beseech you, to join our extended family. We talk every day, constantly, on our dedicated Slack channel. Plus, there's a whole mess more that you get. Just check it out. Patreon.com/11 o'clock comics. In your travels.
Love it.
Who does not love slasher movies? I know.
Tana slowly raises her hand.
Okay. Well, if you're a fan, as I have been since way before John Carpenter's Halloween, but that was the instigating factor that made the genre profitable among movie studios. Hence the landslide of slasher movies in the 80s. I love the genre. I know they may not be for everybody, but if you love slasher movies, you are gonna adore Pink Elephant from Sumerian Comics. It is written by E.N.E. Plissken, which stands for Emilia and Emiliano Plissken. I wonder if they're related to Snake. The art is by Benson Chin, with an assist by Harumi Tokuyosi. And what it is, it's just a setup. The first issue is all set up. There's this crazy old woman who is wandering on a bike. She's just wandering this countryside, singing to herself. And she's singing, "If you want to play, you better start running now. The pink killer will find you. There's no place to hide." I don't know what the melody is, but the pink butcher will hunt you down and chop your head off. And she's the proprietor at this little roadside grocery out in the sticks. Nothing around it. Gas station, grocery store. And these four teens, there's the setup. Stop. Two boys, two men, two women. They stop at this little roadside curiosity that's loaded with tchotchkes. There's a Jason Voorhees mask, a Freddy or a Michael Myers mask. There's a melting pumpkin, which I really hope is an homage to Halloween 3. Season of the Witch. But this woman is just behind the register, and she's not saying anything. And the kids go up to her and it's like, "Hey, lady, how you doing?" She doesn't say anything. One of the boys is looking around and he finds this box, and it's labeled "Fun, Fun, Fun." It's really pink and yellow and garish. And he opens up the box, and there's this little plastic clamshell container shaped in the head of a smiling elephant, and it's pink. And he's like, "Oh, this is cool." Shit goes south, and the old woman ends up calling the girl filthy whore. He's going to come for you. You're going to die. And the boy puts the elephant in his pocket, and that triggers something. She says, "Oh, you're done now. He's going to come and he's going to get you." So they leave, and they're all kind of freaked out, and they go to the one boy's uncle's cabin up in the Green Hills. So they're sitting around looking for stuff to do, and he opens up the elephant container, and inside, what do you think's inside?
What's in the box? What's in the box?
There are tabs of acid in the box, and the blotter paper has the pink elephant face on it. So they're all like, "Cool. Acid, we're going to be tripping balls." And they do just that. They all take the acid, and that opens the portal to madness, and the pink elephant is going to come to kill them all.
What an uplifting story.
But it gets cartoony. After they take the acid, it turns all Robert Williams, crazy physics, weird liquid life, smiling bunnies. It gets nuts, and you see the pink elephant, and it's as if you were experiencing the LSD. Grossly exaggerated. The pink elephant mask falls back, and underneath the pink elephant mask is a more realistic depiction of a pink elephant-headed creature that's coming to kill them. I loved this issue. Do I need to explain why? I don't think so. I thought it was...
I feel like you did.
It's crazy. It's melty. The pink elephant is a melty creature from hell coming to kill these kids. I am so in. Pink elephant, E&E Plissken, Benson Chin from Sumerian Comics. Issue number 1 came out $3.99. Remember, it's Sumerian Comics, so it's a smaller form factor than traditional comics. A little bit wider, a little bit shorter. Cardstock cover, great paper, well worth your money. The hook is set. I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Take it away.
In your travels, this is a manga I picked up. Saw the previews, saw it listed in previews, and I don't know. I guess it was a light month, and so I figured, what the hell? This is Until I Love Myself by Poppy Pesuyama, the journey of a non-binary manga artist. And this is not necessarily something that's going to appeal to everyone. It's the subject matter may not be something you're in the mood for, but I appreciated this book. I'm halfway through it. I started it last night and I was reading it today during work and got halfway through so far, but what I appreciate about it is that Poppy is what I hope people will get out of this. People who either give this a shot or it's offered to them. But I'm hoping that, I know in our circle, I don't have to worry about this, but as far as like the population at large, this might explain why people feel the way they do, why someone may feel that they're in the wrong body, why they may not want to be touched, why they may think that certain comments or jokes in air quotes aren't really all that funny. And empathy goes a long way, obviously, but Poppy put up with a lot dealing with this they're referred to as manga artist X. And Poppy was working in the studio with two others and the lead artist. And the artist was a major dick. And Poppy grew up not feeling, they were assigned female at birth, but never felt like a female. They've always been neither. And they talked about early on in the book grade school and leading up to the first job and how strange life was with their friends, people who weren't their friends, and then working in the environment in the studio. And then after about 7 years, wanting to do something about it. And they go to another publisher to work on another book. And when they're explaining what they've gone through and their experiences, the publisher, she takes Poppy to see a lawyer. And as things changed after Me Too and societal norms and things like that, like things that Vince and I saw, that we all saw growing up in the 70s and 80s, and people's attitudes, people's actions, people's words, and how obviously over the past couple of years that's changed, and you can't say that anymore. You can so that's referenced in this book as well, how the times have changed, and just because something was the way it was, just because 20 years ago I really am. It's weird to say, this isn't necessarily a book you can enjoy, like we're talking about Scarlet Witch, but it's still, I'm not about to say that it's a piece of work as important as maybe Mouse, but it's still something that obviously Poppy wanted to get out there, and if others can learn from their experience, great. But I think it's pretty solid, well done manga. It's a little so some of the characters are a little not generic, but just not going into heavy detail, kind of childlike in some instances. But it's you're getting more of it. You're getting more out of it, I think, if you read what's being said more than the images that are drawn attached to the word balloons in the caption boxes. But it really does. It just gives you pause and just realize that you also don't know, and that's nothing new, but you don't know what someone else is going through, and just because you may be having a bad day, and if somebody else reacts to you, it's just, there's so much more than just whatever's going on in your head, in your little piece of the world, and just to be more aware and to accept people for how they want to be accepted it's like the least anybody can do. You don't, never mind what you think how somebody should be, you're not them. So just as long as if Poppy's happy in her skin, then that's really that's the important thing. That it's not your concern. It's not you have no place to say what they should or shouldn't do, or you're so skinny and you should smile more. You're so pretty as a girl. It's like, but I don't feel like there's just I can't stand people who just push their beliefs or their outlooks on others when the situation isn't the same. But no, I think it's I'm not trying to bring the room down or anything. It's just one of those books where it's I think it might have gotten, this was published 5 years or so ago. It might have gotten lost, or not as it maybe just wouldn't have been as the message may not have been as heard or maybe even as powerful. But now I think it's something that people should be aware of. At least more people should be aware of, or at least understand. So yeah, I think I think others should definitely check it out. So Until I Love Myself, it's got a big old 1 on the spine in the cover. I don't know if we're getting additional volumes. I don't know if Poppy said everything they needed to say in this book, but I'll find out by the time I get to the end of it. But I definitely would recommend it from Viz Signature, Viz Media, Until I Love Myself, by Poppy Pesuyama.
Nice. What a rousing review. I will need to check that out. Damn.
You read The Pink Elephant, right?
I am not a horror guy. That sounds like a nightmare. I have something that's so when I picked my thing, I knew it was going to be a divergence. So we have horror, we have Until I Love Myself, and my thing is a beardo hardcover children's book that is not for children. So here's my thought, guys. Okay, 4th of July just happened. There is a corner of the internet that's going crazy because the next major holiday, do you know what it is?
It's if it's not July 4th, and then there's nothing in August, is it? Is it like what, Labor Day?
Well, there's something in August, but it's not a major holiday.
Oh,
well, I mean, aside from your birthday, Vince.
My birthday,
but, right?
That's a national holiday.
That's a footnote.
Yeah.
It's below a footnote. Yeah, right.
The next major holiday is several months away, but the people who get so excited about Halloween are already so excited about it. I know. But I figured, since I have this adorable, creepy kids book, it's called Butterfly House, and it is by Brenda Hickey and Troy Little. And I only know it because I was next to, you guys might know Troy from the Rick and Morty Dungeons and Dragons comic book. I don't know if you're into that sort of thing, but I am. He's very cartoony, very animated style, and a delight. I met him because we were tabled next to each other at comic book conventions, and all weekend long, he has this beautiful hardbound, it's a hardcover book, that is like, it looks like a children's story, but it's creepy as hell. And he illustrated it with his wife, I believe, Brenda Hickey, and so you read half of the book. This book is split into 2 timelines, and it's made to be read from the side of the reader's choosing. When you reach the middle of the book where the 2 timelines meet, simply close the book, flip it over, and begin reading the second half. And it is about a haunted house, a young girl, maggots, time travel. It's beautiful and super creepy. I feel like, Vince, this might be up your alley. But yeah, so this is my choice. It's called Butterfly House, and it is one of the most interesting reads that, if your listeners are interested in this sort of thing, could pick up. It's by PegaMoose Press, which is their independent small press. This is an indie book they put out. There is spot gloss on the cover. It is the highest quality, terrific artwork. It's large format, and absolutely unsettlingly creepy for a cartoon book. Like, it is just, it's fully creepy. And I highly recommend it to your readers. So if they're interested in a book that is spooky and inventive, and you flip it over halfway through, go get Butterfly House by Troy Little and Brenda Hickey.
Now, the last time you came on, I talked Rick and Morty, and you said you have to read Rick and Morty Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes,
and I did.
Troy Little's art.
Yes, and I think he's great.
Did you?
Yeah. Well, you told me to read it, so I did.
Since you've been on here,
yes,
Vince has gone, I'm not going to say all in, but Vince has opened his heart up to the wonder that is Rick and Morty.
There's not
an
issue of Rick and Morty that comes out from Oni that I do not buy. I buy the main series, I buy the offshoots, I buy the one-shots. I kind of love it.
Vince!
Yes.
I love this for you.
He's so mature now. He's so grown up.
And I don't know whether my brain evolved or I just, the dial was tuned in to the frequency that they're putting out, but I don't find it as overbearing and incomprehensible as I did. I can make sense of it now.
Listen to me, Vince. If you, off the air, send me your mailing address, I will happily put my personal copy of Butterfly House in the mail to you, because I want you specifically to read this adorable, creepy frickin' book and tell me what you think about it.
No, I'll just pick it up. You don't have to.
You could just pick it up, but I could also just. There's something beautiful about like the mail system, isn't there? Like you could have.
It's true. Yeah.
This copy, my copy, we could read the same copy of the same book, and then you could tell me what you think about it.
All right, I'm down.
You just got to give me your mailing address, baby.
You're so sweet.
Ooh, baby. And so that's from PegaMoose Press, for those of you guys that want to pick it up. They are, it's a married couple that's doing the thing. And it's freaking gorgeous. The end papers, like these people, this pair has made a gorgeous, disturbing, like creepy story. That is quite enjoyable, and you have plenty of time to read before Halloween.
My favorite holiday. But you probably already knew that. Yeah, you knew that. All right, everybody. Hey, thank you one more time for being here. Do yourself a favor and get yourself to a comic book shop, because you're going to want to buy lots of comics and read them with the people you love and talk about them and eat some stuff and hug your pets and just do all great stuff. And remember, say goodnight. David.
Good night. David.
I think you nailed it.
Nice. This is right at the right time, right? When ended too. That was great.
Yes, and there was conceptual continuity in that song. You don't know it, but I know it. That's why I chose it, because the song is called Buzzards of Green Hill, and the location, the location that the kids travel to in Pink Elephant is called Green Hill. So I thought, what better song than to trip up David? I'll use Les Claypool's Buzzards of Green Hill.
Okay.
That's how I think. I'm very sorry.
Well done.
I'm not going to apologize. It's who I am. All right, everybody.
Love it.
Tana, thank you for being here with us. Thank you for
Thanks for
uplifting
having
us as usual.
Oh, what a fine time I've had with you, gentlemen.
Nice. We're going to catch hell from Jason.
Well, listen, no
Fourth
one told him
chair,
to go to
baby.
Italy.
Well, third chair.
Yeah. I am Jason. I have been Jason Wood.
Sounds so much better when you say it. We're out of here. Tell them you love them.
Love you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
That's it for that one.